second thing that he does is he defines our ministry. Look at verse 10. Verse 10 is God speaking, really, if you will, directly to him. Jacob's returned to Padan Aram, and God has appeared to him again and blessed him. And then verse 10, and God said to him, now this is right after he blessed him and gave Jacob reason to praise him. Right after he blesses him, he says, your name is Jacob, but you will no longer be called Jacob. Your name will be Israel. So he named him Israel. Now, the only time that a name is changed in the Bible is when God changes it. The only time. And Jacob's name is now changed to Israel. And there's significant meaning to this. It's one of the most significant life-changing principles in the Bible. And it is this. God, and I mentioned this in my message a few Sundays ago, God defines you by your ministry, by your calling. That's how he knows you. God doesn't refer to you as Sheila, even though your name is John. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't refer to Sheila as Sheila. Think about this. He doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't refer to Dawn as Dawn. He doesn't refer to Beverly as Beverly. He identifies you by your ministry. His name for you is your ministry. God doesn't look at me and go, hey, Dan. That's not how God refers to me. Dan is the name my parents gave me. A good name, I might add. But it's not the name that God refers to me as. God defines me by my ministry. That's how he knows me. This is how I know who you are, because this is the ministry that I have for you. God defines you by your ministry. And that's what he does with Jacob. He defines Jacob by him. He gives him a name that is his ministry, or the function of his ministry, if you will. In fact, your ministry is God's name for you. And one of the reasons that so many of us don't hear God is because we don't know what our ministry is. We don't know that God's calling us. You know, God he refers to us by our ministry, and when he tries to speak to us, we don't know, because we don't know what our ministry is. You know, by the way, dogs, have you figured this out? Dogs know their name. You can say their name and they come to you. Cats are dumb. They don't know their name. Does your cat know its name? Yes. You're cat lovers. Your cat doesn't know its name. I'm sorry. Your dog does. In fact, your dog knows your cat's name. You call your dog by your cat's name, your dog will come to you. Oh, he's calling the cat. I better get over there. It must be something good, you know. Listen. Nothing to do with the lesson. I don't even know why I brought that up. But anyway, the fact is that one of the reasons that we aren't completely in tune with God is because we don't know what our ministry is. And so we have trouble identifying, relating. When God's speaking to us and he's referring to us and he's calling us, and we don't know what our ministry is, how can we really concentrate and focus on what it is that God's saying? We're not completely in tune with him because we don't know what our ministry is. It's so important for us to be sensitive to what it is that God wants to do. And when we lose sight of our ministry, then we lose sight of our calling. It's true in the individuals of a church, and when it's true in the individuals of the church, it's true in the church. When a church loses its focus for ministry, it's because the people in the church have lost their focus for ministry. They've forgotten what their name is. Or maybe they never knew. God says, I identify you by your ministry. I identify you by your calling. And so Jacob gets his name changed to Israel. Now, this has been the subject of discussion for centuries. Because the first part of the word comes from a word meaning prevail. I mean, the word in and of itself is sometimes referred to as prevail or to overcome. And so the common definition is to prevail or to overcome God. In fact, in the story that we saw earlier, when Jacob wrestled with God, The King James says, I'm giving you the name Israel because you have overcome. You've wrestled with God and have overcome. A closer look at the word and how it's used gives us a whole different understanding, and it's really important for us to understand this. The word Israel actually comes from two root words, the word for power and the word for God. El is the word for God, and Isra is actually comes from the word Sarah, actually, which means authority or means power. And the way the word is put together, Israel, it actually means, now get this, empowered by God. That's really what the word Israel means. It means empowered by God. And what God was saying to Jacob was, your ministry will be to live empowered by me. That is your ministry. You are to live empowered by me. You're not to do anything of your own accord and will and in your own strength, but you are to do that which you yourself cannot do and can only do because you are empowered by God. Now listen, this is life-changing. This will change your walk with God. God is not calling you to do the things that you can do. He's calling you to do the things that only He can do. And the only way He can do those things is if you are empowered by Him. You are not called to do the things that you can do. You are called to do the things that only God can do. And the only way that He can do it is if you are empowered by Him. If you have the power of God in your life and through your life.
Only by your blood, and it's only through